Previously on Once Upon a Time.
What am I wearing? That's better. I've been watching Once Upon a Time since the beginning of time. The very end of that season finale, and you see the urn spill and this just blue, black goo forming of Elsa. But Regina's still like kind of not Emma's biggest fan. I really wanted Regina and Robin Hood together, and it was just like, oh, be together. Wait, no, this is wrong, because you have a wife and she's here and she's not dead. Regina goes,
"You told my mother!"
And then Snow is like getting off the ground.
"I was dead!"
Captain Swan, Killian Jones, and Emma Swan. I just love it so much. Please do not separate them for a long period of time. The sorcerer and the author aren't the same person. So the sorcerer, who I keep thinking is Mickey Mouse, I think this is really interesting and cool, and how the Queens of Darkness are looking for their happy ending too. So this whole half of the season is going to be about finding the sorcerer and finding the author. Little birdie, do you know where I am? Oh, hello there. Do you know where I am? What is this foreign land? I see a lot of books. Is this Belle's place? I don't know about Snow White, but I definitely know where I am. I am in my room filming my review for Season 4B, Heroes and Villains. Back in December when Season 4A wrapped up, I did an entire review talking about Once Is Frozen. If you guys haven't seen that yet, go watch that video, because I'm not going to be talking about the Frozen characters. Well, I might mention them, but I'm definitely not going to be talking about Season 4A in this review today, because I've already done that. It's done. It's gone. This time around, I dressed up as Snow White from Season 1 when she was like in her evil mood with the dwarfs in the cottage, and she was like whacking the birds. Yep. This is this costume because it was the easiest one for me to do. I already did Regina in the last video, so I thought I would do the next leading lady, because Emma Swan is blonde, and I am not blonde, as you can tell. I have lots of thoughts. I feel like in this review, I'm not going to be as happy as I was in the Once Is Frozen review, just because it was kind of a downer this season, or the last half of the season. I didn't feel happy. Well, there's a couple times I felt happy. Season 4B with the Queens of Darkness came back the first week of March, and now it has ended the second week of May with a Heroes and Villains 2-hour concept movie. It went by so fast. Did anyone think that went by so fast? There were 3 episodes that stood out the most to me, and that would be the Poor Unfortunate Soul, which was my favorite episode this season, and then Corella's No Sympathy for the Devil, that episode about Corella, and then the 2-hour concept movie, which was called Operation Mongoose. Between the end of Season 4A and the beginning of 4B, ABC was selling the crap out of the Queens of Darkness, meaning Corella, Ursula, and Maleficent. They were the big bads of the season, but no they weren't. No they weren't. Ursula left the picture like 3 episodes in. Alright, bye-bye Ursula. Bye-bye. And then they killed Corella, and Maleficent took a back seat once Lily came into the picture. Pretty sure they were just used as devices to flash back to the Enchanted Forest and flash forward. My point is, I did not enjoy this last half of the season as much as I loved the first half with the Frozen characters, because that was just so much fun. Maybe I'm just a wimp, but I really missed some, good family scenes. Everything was just on the rocks. Emma hating her parents for most of the season, I think, really tore me apart, because my favorite part of Once Upon a Time is the family aspect of it, and how Emma has her parents and Henry has 2 moms. However, I really enjoyed Emma and Regina working together. I mean, from the beginning of the first episode going into Season 4B, they were working together, and Emma sacrificing herself for Regina's happy ending at the very end of the season. We finally finally got our little Snow Queen moments. And I'm not a Snow Queen shipper at all. I ship Captain Swan and Outlaw Queen. But I love Regina and Emma as friends. And the fact that the relationship finally, after 4 seasons, is doing great. Except that Emma is the Dark One now, so I don't know what it's going to be like next season. What also ruined it for me this last half of the season was Tumblr and spoilers. I got spoiled so many times for all of the big aha moments, like when Zelena said she was pregnant. I was spoiled on that on Instagram. And then for the last episode where Emma sticks a dagger into the darkness, I was spoiled by that on Tumblr. So nothing was like, I was just watching my Once is Frozen review and I said, follow Tumblr. Tumblr has all the answers.
Tumblr, guys, Tumblr. Gotta keep track on Tumblr. They tell you everything.
Don't follow any of the Swan Queen or any of the whatever Once Upon a Time blogs on Tumblr. They spoil you and they ruin everything. This whole half of the season was about finding the author and changing the villains of Once Upon a Time and giving them their happy ending. Henry unlocked the author from his little door-page prison more than halfway through the end of season 4B. And that's when all hell broke loose in Storybrooke. I love how they thought their answers were gonna lie with this author who was locked in a page for a good reason, people. And he ended up giving everyone exactly what they didn't want. I also appreciated how this wasn't as easy as the previous seasons. Even though we got out of the Heroes and Villains book, whatever that the author created, real quickly because Henry was the author, which I thought was so cool. That was clever, I think. I didn't think he was going to be the next author. I mean, you saw it coming from the beginning of the show. I don't know if the writers thought of him as being an author from the very beginning of the show, but you can see how he is essentially the perfect author for the Once Upon a Time storybook. But even though everyone went back to normal after the Heroes and Villains little concept movie, the darkness prevailed. Now we have a very, very complicated situation for season 5, and it's not going to be easy, not this time. Even though we got lots of Emma and Regina camaraderie, we did not get enough Captain Swan. In my opinion. There was not enough compared to the first half of the season. We got a whole episode about a date. My last review, I talked about how I wanted to see some sexy times with Captain Swan. That didn't happen. But we got some declarations of love from Hook first when he said that Emma is his happy ending, and that was probably my favorite moment of the entire last half of the show. That was the standout episode for me just because Killian was at the forefront and we didn't really get to hear from him that much more because he was kind of pushed to the back with everything that was happening with the author and Regina and Rumple and Robin Hood. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Zelena and Robin Hood and Regina, because even though I was spoiled, I still can't believe that Zelena was Maid Marian the entire time. She screwed up Regina's happy ending. Because if Maid Marian wasn't there, we wouldn't be searching for the author in the first place, which is what got Emma into this situation. But what the heck are we gonna do with this love child? It's technically going to be Henry's cousin? How much more convoluted can this show get with their weird family tree? It's time to talk about the season finale just because I have so many thoughts and so many things I want to talk about, and that's what everyone wants to talk about anyways. That's the most fresh in our minds is the season finale, and it rocked me. Oh boy. What I thought the writers were going to do with the season finale, I thought they were going to have the author change basically the villains and the heroes and flip-flop them, you know, make the heroes villains and the villains heroes. And I thought they were going to do that in Storybrooke. Turns out that the author wanted his own happy ending, so that's why we had the alternate universe of the heroes and villains arc. I was so glad Emma was not evil. I thought she was going to be evil because of a screenshot I saw when her like chained to the ground and she's like like she was some crazy, evil, whacked out villain. Hold on, I have to talk about Emma for a second because it was bothering me the entire time. Her makeup. Did they make her look like terrible, like she just rolled out of bed and she was exhausted for some fun reason, or was it because like she had a potential for darkness? Was that why they were making her look like shit? A lot of people agreed with me on Twitter when I tweeted about it. I'm like, what's up with Emma's makeup? She's got like these dark circles. Her eyes were really dark. Actually, her eyelashes were way too thick. They're way too long. Too much black on her eyes. They did the same thing with Belle too. Like her eyelashes were outrageously long. I think they made her look like that just to scare the audience because she had the potential for darkness, and maybe that's what she's gonna look like in season 5. She looked really fresh in the season finale, if you guys noticed. Like she didn't have her eyelashes on. It was very natural makeup. Let's go back to the season finale now. This is what really got me. In the first 30 minutes, while the crew was getting the apprentice out of the hat, and that the apprentice told him that they needed to put the author back into his, you know, dungeon of his page door with the key. One party went to the loft and the other party went to Mr. Gold's pawn shop. In that time, the author wrote an entire, what looked like, I'm assuming it was like this thick, 400-page book. Like, that was a really short time. Like, how could he figure out like all these different devices he was gonna have in the book and figure out the plot lines? Of course, you know, it was a magic quill and it probably just came all through his head, but still, I really enjoyed this Heroes and Villains 2-hour episode. It was so good. I wish they would have made this like an entire half season. I was loving that it was so reminiscent of the first season, and Henry had the book with him. He went into the alternate universe. He was trying to find Regina, his mom, who was essentially Snow White. And it was like when Henry showed up at Emma's door when it was her birthday and he says, "Hi, I'm Henry, I'm your son." And then Henry making his way through this alternate universe and finding characters who are their alternate selves. I thought that would have been a really good half season. It shouldn't have been just an episode. Does anyone agree? It would have been like season 1 all over again, because season 1 is the best, except Captain Hook's not in it, so it's technically not the best. Once is Frozen is best because that's Captain Swan and that's my favorite. After Henry failed to convince Regina that they were in an alternate universe, he goes and sets sail to find Emma, and Killian Jones, we meet him in this alternate universe, and he's allergic to rum. I love that Henry took center stage in this last episode because he's the reason why like Emma's came back and she's a savior. I'm just so glad that they haven't switched out the, you know, actor because he's getting older and making Henry stay a little boy. Like, he's actually growing up and he's maturing before our eyes on screen, and it was something really cool for, I think, everyone who loves the show to watch, is just to see Henry, you know, save the day. Henry was the hero. We find Emma in this tower, which basically looked like Rapunzel's tower. Let's just all be real here. Now, my favorite scene probably had to be when Emma ran into Killian and she was just so like, "Oh, hi," and then like they were looking at each other, or she was just basically looking at him like she loved him so much. And then we get to the scene where Killian dies. I asked people to send me in their questions and their comments or situations that they want me to talk about, and the main one was, what did I feel when Killian died in the alternate universe? Well, I didn't feel good. Nope, I cried. Killian's death in the alternate universe leads into Emma convincing Regina to stop the wedding, which didn't happen, and that was probably one of the most frustrating, I'll talk about my most frustrating situation in this episode. Why didn't she stop the wedding? It was the easiest thing you could have done, even though, like, the author was about to kill Henry. Like, she couldn't, like, if she would just hurried up and would have just hurried up, everything would have been fine. Like, she kept looking back and it was so annoying. That's the one thing I didn't get though, was if everyone is flip-flopped, like I understand that Regina was Snow White, but why didn't Regina get her happy ending, and why didn't she think she was gonna get her happy ending? Was it because the author was bitter when she didn't ask him to write it for her, so he wrote in Selena's happy ending? But everything turned out well because Henry was the author and he wrote a sentence to put everyone back to where they were supposed to be, and everything was all right. but it wasn't. Emma goes to see if Killian survived, and they have their very cute happy moment on the bed, which was like a tiny bit of like the sexy times that I'm hoping for that we're gonna get. She doesn't say she loves him, and she had this whole huge long speech to Regina in the alternate universe that she remembers, and she doesn't say that she loves him. And I yelled at the screen, I'm like, why aren't you saying it? It was so anticlimactic. Does anyone think it was anticlimactic? Like, even though she said it at the very end of the episode, but right before she turned into the Dark One. And I wish she had just said it there and just said it again, or maybe kissed him, because they didn't kiss at all. The apprentice takes the darkness out of Rumpel. Was anyone thinking, why didn't they do this earlier? Why didn't they do this earlier? Maybe because the apprentice was in the hat, but still the apprentice was in Storybrooke the entire time before they put him in the hat. Why didn't they take the darkness out of Rumpel before? Now we get to the end of the episode. The darkness is trying to seek out someone to attach itself to. It finds Regina, almost gets Regina, and then Emma decides to sacrifice her happy ending for Regina's because Regina has worked too hard for it. I hope and pray that Regina is going to be the one who will be looking for somehow to save Emma next season the most. That is her duty. I hope she is the one to find it for her, or hopefully maybe Killian, because we still haven't had that true love's first kiss with Killian. Once Upon a Time has took a turn for darkness, and Emma is going to be the big bad of season 5. We probably aren't going to find a solution for Emma, I think maybe until like the end of season 5. I'm scared, but I'm also kind of excited to see how this is going to pan out. We've always had a character come in who has messed things up for the town. Now it's actually the savior. Emma disappeared. I don't know what happened. Why didn't we see her become the Dark One? Some people were confused, like maybe she's in the dagger. I don't think so. I just think she disappeared and she will come back. But there is some hope because the dagger was left on the ground. So that means Emma can be controlled by the dagger. Now this may be tricky. Maybe the rules might be a little different for Emma. Who knows like how the heck they're going to get this darkness out of her. I mean, the answer is Merlin, which we finally found out who the sorcerer was. He's not Mickey Mouse like I thought he was. And also what I did not brush on was Lily. I thought that was interesting how they brought Maleficent's daughter and how she is tied with Emma forever. Like, why didn't the darkness go into Lily? That would have been so much easier. It's gonna be really interesting, and it's gonna hurt a lot because I like my Captain Swan, and they can't, I don't know. I mean, Rumpel loved Belle when he was the Dark One. How is this gonna change Emma? That's the end of my Heroes and Villains Queens of Darkness review for Once Upon a Time for season 4B. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have thoughts, anything you want to question me, I don't know, if you want to talk with me in the comments, let me know down below. If you guys would please share this video with your fellow Once Upon a Time fans, like on Tumblr, just because my audience is not made up of Once Upon a Time fans, and I would like my video to be shared across the world. I hope you guys have all survived the season finale season. It's May and every show is ending and it's gonna be horrible. We have to wait 4 months for like a new season, and it's I got lipstick on my hands. Bye. If you guys notice in the background, I have my fairest of them all pillow on my bed. Then I also have my Captain Swan picture. And this is gonna kill me all summer looking at this picture.